It's time for another blistering report from the front lines of the cultural war for a constitutional America. And now, here's your host, Charles Benninghoff.
Congress and the American people will continue learning in the coming months about massive scandals that took place in secrecy during the Obama administration. One of those scandals, in fact, has just come to light. Now listen to this. You won't believe it. This news comes on the heels of a 2-year congressional investigation that was just released. The Obama Justice Department, under former Attorney General Eric Holder, now representing the state of California, threatened banks with prosecution and into settlement agreements that diverted billions of dollars into a secret, private, Obama-controlled slush fund. The slush fund was originally intended to disburse money to homeowners who were hurt during the 2008 financial crisis, which is a good thing. I mean, if a bank hurt somebody, give them back some money that the bank took from them. But instead, the civil rights attorneys and the Obama administration took hundreds of millions of dollars and gave that money to racist, hateful, and unapologetically socialist, subversive political groups. When the Italian mafia shakes down a business and gives the money to itself, it's a federal crime. But when the Obama administration did exactly the same thing, it was legal because Obama hired crooked lawyers to give the opinion that current federal law doesn't prohibit these slush funds for victims that are outside the congressional oversight. Now, anyone with common sense would know that agencies are not legally to be self-funding by strong-arming American moms and pops into paying huge sums of bribe money, or on the other hand, stealing huge sums of money from mom and pops and being goons about doing so. But guess what? The Environmental Protection Agency was doing exactly the same thing. This kind of socialist shakedown is typical in the third world banana republics, but it's not supposed to happen in the United States of America. Except, of course, when the government is controlled by globalist goons like Obama and Eric Holder. It doesn't get any more corrupt than that. Do you want to help drain the swamp in Washington, D.C.? I think you can. This is a way to do it. Listen up and I'll tell you how. Here's one way that we can do it working together. We have to shut down these self-funding government slush funds that allow agencies of the federal government to shake down the private sector and then use the money for whatever they want. The chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Congressman Bob Goodlatte of Virginia, has introduced a bill called Stop Settlement Slush Funds Act, which is nominated H.R. 522 in the House. This is a great bill. I'll tell you why and how you can support this crucially necessary legislation today and help us push it through Congress. And if you want to stay up to date, why don't you click on the subscribe button? You can stay up to date on our American First patriotic activities, but you have to subscribe to this YouTube channel. But first, let's dive into the details of this scandal in more depth. Let's talk about just how corrupt and dirty the Obama administration was, and in particular, how dirty old Holder is and certainly was. The Obama Justice Department took money that was supposed to help victims of the financial crash, and he gave that money to groups like the Mexican supremacist organization known as La Raza. La Raza, that means in Spanish, the race. It's a group that fosters anti-white and anti-black disharmony. And after the 2008 financial crisis, the big banks entered into settlement agreements with the federal government for their alleged role in racial discrimination and lending practices, very little of which was ever proven. But at the time, as the federal government in 2008 was shoveling money into the banking system by the billions, many bankers simply didn't care if their bank had to shovel back a few $100 million. So, the Obama Justice Department forced those banks to make donations to a slush fund for victims in order not to have to litigate Obama's unfounded, outrageous, and profit-driven race-baiting schemes. Listen to the chairman of the House Financial Services Committee after the conclusion of a 2-year investigation into what was happening with that slush fund. Here's Congressman Jeb Hansarling from Texas. He's telling the truth.
Our committee's investigation uncovered that the Obama Justice Department has done exactly this. They have used mandatory mandatory donations to direct as much as $880 million to political organizations that just so happen to be allies of the Obama administration.
So what groups received settlement money that was intended for homeowners who lost everything in 2008 and 2009? Well, La Raza, as I mentioned. Also, the National Urban League, that fine, upstanding, pro-American group. It's a group that advocates for driver's licenses, voter registration, and welfare payments for illegal aliens. Plus, a slew of Obama's favorite community organizing groups in Chicago, New York, and other areas, as well as communist-driven trial lawyer associations and bar associations, all of which donate very heavily to the Democrat Party. You know, Obama literally made millions of globalist lawyers very happy by dishing out hundreds of millions to these ambulance chasers during his 2 terms. You don't have to believe me about this list of Obama flunky organizations. Listen at the end of this tape, and Bob Mallory will tell you how to get to our action page. There, you can check out the exact list because I published a full list of recipients, and today you can read it for yourself. Well, that $880 million that was intended for victims was funneled to Obama's political allies, and it was all technically legal because Obama got fraudulent legal opinions from the very lawyers he was bribing, which concluded that this Justice Department slush fund is legally not under congressional oversight. So Obama bribed lawyers, then hired the lawyers, and guess what? They gave him exactly the opinion that he wanted. That was that the clearly illegal things that he was doing somehow became legal. So if you lost your home in 2008, sorry. Obama thought it was more important to give the settlement money to groups like his lawyer friends to pay for more and more opinions, all of which supported what he was doing. And the Justice Department is not the only agency doing this. The Environmental Protection Agency, called the EPA, has squirreled away, now get this, $6.3 billion in discretionary spending accounts that Congress doesn't have the authority to look at this point. And remember, that's $6.3 billion with a B, a capital B, not million, billion. You know, according to the Daily Caller News Foundation, this amounts to another slush fund that is operating completely outside of government accountability, an uncontrolled slush fund larger than the entire budget for many small countries. The money that the EPA is hiding from Congress comes from cleanup settlements that are paid to the EPA. This is a huge threat to America's, it's a huge threat to our republic. It finances and enables an agency gone wild. And it amounts to a self-funding government agency which is above the law. Nothing in the United States should be above the law. Plus, by diverting the money to political groups instead of intended victims, the Justice Department just made itself into a new mafia. Government mafia thugs, that's all they are. It's a shakedown racket that only encourages more bad behavior from federal public sector labor union goons parading as public servants. We have to shut these slush funds down and return those funds to the victims. And that is what this H.R. 522 is all about. It's what it does. The bill prohibits government officials from entering into or enforcing a settlement agreement, resolving a civil action on behalf of the United States. Any federal official who violates this can be removed from office, and they have to forfeit the money collected. It's a simple piece of legislation, but it will be an uphill battle to push it through Congress. Why? Because I believe that the banks actually benefited from this arrangement with the Obama administration. As I mentioned before, the administration was shoveling in billions of dollars, and they didn't mind shoveling out a few $100 million. When the big banks like J.P. Morgan, Chase, Citibank, and Bank of America made these forced donations to the slush fund, the Obama Justice Department counted that as a 2-for-1 donation against their total settlement agreement. So if the bank donated $10 million to the slush fund, the Obama Justice Department subtracted $20 million from what the bank actually owed for allegedly ripping off private homeowners. Needless to say, the banks will be opposing this legislation, I think, so we'll have to overcome even that. And we'll have to convince members of Congress who possibly have been bribed. Well, I call it bribe, but it may just be described as receiving political contributions from these banks. So that's where your help comes in. Go to our action page today. Bob Mallory will tell you how to do it. and send personalized letters to Congress, starting with the House Judiciary Committee. Tell Congress to support and pass H.R. 522, the Stop Settlement Slush Funds Act of 2017. As I said, Bob Mallory will have instructions on the next screen letting you know how you can get to our action page and you can yourself become an action hero. This is Charles Benninghoff signing off and wishing you freedom, fulfillment, and God's many, many blessings.
If you're on our action page on our website, use the form next to the video screen to select a program and send personal letters to Congress. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, click the icon appearing now to find the link to our action page, or check the video's description to find the link. Speak out today.